a much better Christian than I am today. Because I thought I had done it all. I thought I was obeying God with everything. I thought I had mastered everything. I hadn't even started. It's kind of interesting if we take the analogy of marriage again. The first couple of years are the honeymoon. For some of us, it's just a month, and for some of us, it's less than that. But that happens in the church. People come to church, Pastor, you've heard it 100,000 times probably. This is the church for me. This is a great church. This is awesome. This is a wonderful church. And then Pastor gets up on a Sunday morning and preaches a message, and they're done. There's no love in that church. I came to church on Sunday morning and no one shook my hand. I'm hurt.
Get over it.
People don't love in that church. People don't care about other people in that church. People in that church have cliques. It's a terrible. I mean, if that church doesn't get it together, Pastor, they're never going to go anywhere. Nothing's ever going to happen. It's amazing. We've had how many babies heal in the womb? 2 at least. At least 2.
Yeah. That's right.
We've had people healed of chronic pain.
That's right.
We've had, I don't know, we could probably go on and on and on about some of the things that God has done in this place.
Amen.
And, it's amazing that God was able to do that even in the middle of all the cliques and all the political stuff that's going on and all the people that are misbehaving and disobedient and aren't listening and all that stuff. But you know what? If you come to church and you think this message tonight I'm preaching is for somebody in the church, don't look really far. Just reach into your wife's purse and pick out their little mirror and look into it, and you'll find the guy that I'm preaching to.
Amen. Careful now.
God wants to do great things in your life. But He's not going, if you're not doing what God has called you to do, if you're not doing what He's created you to do, don't expect Him to bless you.
That's right.
You know what? I wish that I could do whatever I wanted to and just say, God bless me.
That's right.
Right? Right, Rob? I'd go farm on that. God, first thing I want is a new tractor. There you go. It could have a loader on it. It could be 4-wheel drive. It could be all that stuff. But you know what? If God hasn't called me to do that, why would I do that? Because I'm not here for myself. I'm not here to get blessing for myself. Now, God has promised me in His Word that if I'm obedient to Him and if I follow diligently all His commandments, that the blessings are going to come upon me and overtake me. They're going to catch up to me, and they're going to catch me just like a tidal wave or a tsunami. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to fulfill my purpose. And I need you to fulfill my purpose. And you need me. Amen. We all need each other. I mean, I could pick out names here tonight. Weird people. Strange people. Not going to look at anybody.
Amen.
And we could ask ourselves, why would we need them? I want to tell you something. The person that irks you the most is there because God needs to work something out of your life.
Amen.
Amen.
If you're irritated by me tonight, then praise God. That's what I'm here for. If I bug you, hey, I'm doing my job. If I don't bug you, then I'm gonna have to do some more digging. But you know what? We are together. God, we are absolutely supposed to be different from each other. That's right. We're not supposed to be the same. We're not supposed to act the same. We're not supposed to think the same. if Pastor and I were exactly the same, we'd preach exactly the same, we'd do everything exactly the same, and you'd be bored.
Yeah.
And one of you would be redundant.
And we know who that would be. we need Brother Doug. You know why? Brother Doug, I was talking to Pastor, and we were talking, and he said, man, is he green? He's got a lot of rough edges. I got to thinking after, man, my green too. I still have a lot of sharp edges that need to come off, and thank God for Pastor. He's going to make sure I get them off.
Amen.
But I want you to think. I want you to begin to think differently when you have trials come into your life. Use that as an opportunity to get closer to God than you already are now. It may be a trial to test your faith. It may be a trial to test your patience. It may be a trial to do something, or it may be because you have been walking away from God. Sometimes negative things come in our life because we've got this mindset that I can do without this church. I don't need this church to be a Christian. I can be a Christian all by myself. I can read my Bible on Sunday afternoon, or I can read my Bible Sunday morning when I'm out in the golf course. I could have it with me playing whatever. I could do all kinds of those things. Well, you know what happens? It doesn't happen.
Amen.
Why do we need each other? Because we have to hold each other accountable. Hallelujah. Praise God. We are the body of Christ. We're the one that needs to get the work done, and we can't do it without each one of us. Right? So it doesn't matter whether you're the same as I, you can talk the same, can talk as well, can preach as good as I can. None of that matters. What matters is that you do what God has called you to do.
That's right.
What matters is that I do what God has called me to do.
That's right.
I'm not immune to this. Do you know how long I've been working on this message? For about 6 months. God's just been banging my head against the wall, telling me to smarten up here, telling me to change that, telling me to do this different. I've not been having a whole lot of fun. Except when I'm preaching to you guys. Tonight, I want us to get this idea in our hearts, in our minds, that God has got a reason for us to be here. But you need to invest yourself into this church. You need to make yourself a part of this church.
Right.
You need to make you can't go on any longer and say, I'm going to come there Sunday morning and do my Sunday morning thing. If you want success in your life, if you want to be in that place that God wants you to be, even young people, here we are, we've got all these stuffy old people. And, but let's look at it this way. They also had experiences, and they were young ones too. I was young a long time ago. And I know Nick or Nicole can't believe that, but no way. But you know what? We want youth to succeed. I don't think I want our youth to succeed any more than anybody else. I want our youth to succeed. I want our youth to have everything that God has for them. And I believe that God's got some amazing things for their life.
Amen.
And the world has got all these attractions out there. The world has got all these things out there that are trying to pull you away from God's purpose. And then you've got us older, experienced people who have gone through some of that stuff, who've been led away by some of that stuff, right, Rob? Who have done that kind of stuff, and we're at the point where we don't want you to have to experience that pain. And we want you to be able to look back on your life and say, wow, I'm so glad that I followed God's plan. Not Pastor Terry's plan, not Pastor Paul's plan, not anybody's plan, but God's plan.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is not about Pastor Terry building a big church or growing a big church or me building a big church or growing a big church. It's not about any of that stuff at all. It's about us fulfilling the mission that God has for this church in Brockville. And the mission for this church in Brockville is to be a light. Is to be an example. Is to draw people to God. And we can't do it by just listening to messages on a Sunday morning and expecting God to bless our lives. We have to invest ourselves into this process. We've got to make this church our church. We've got to make this body our body, and we've got to look at this. How can I make this a better place? Don't look at how this church is going to help you. That'll come automatically. It's kind of like it's kind of like the blessings of God. It's going to come upon you and overtake you before you even know about it.
Amen.
But if you are here in this church, if you are looking for what this church can do for you, you're going to be disappointed. Because God's going to make sure that we overlook every need in your life.
Amen.
God's got a way of doing that kind of stuff.
Amen.
He wants to bring you to attention. He can do it. He can dry things up in your life. He can make things miserable for you. I know from experience. Praise God. But God does that because He loves you. He does that because He's merciful to you. He does that because He wants the best for you. Let's all stand together, and Brother Rob, you come back to the car. Praise God. I believe that we have to have this mindset, this understanding that God is this church is moving forward. We're past the beginning of revival. We are in revival. God is doing amazing things. But you need to understand that the church is in revival not for you. You are in revival for this community.
That's right.
It's not about you. It's about the people in this community. It's not in the process though. The neat thing about it is, as you get involved, as you become a part of it, as you begin to fulfill your purpose, your needs are going to be met automatically. Your need for fellowship, automatically. Your need for friends, they're going to be here. Your need for whatever is going to be here. I believe that. Hallelujah. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. We have to have this understanding. I would love it if we had enough young girls in this church, enough young men in this church that could find a mate and get married in this church, and stay in this church and raise a family in this church. Amen. To me, that is the blessing of God. Amen. I want to see people from our community come into this church. But what good is it if there is no mates for our children in the church? I don't know if you hear what I'm saying. What good is it if there's no one for our young men and young women inside the church that are compatible, that are there to be a life partner? If they find someone outside in the world, or find someone outside somewhere else, and they're drawn away, and I know some of them are going to be, because God has called some of them away. I know God is making some of our young people leaders, and they're going to be missionaries. They're going to be in other places. I understand that. Yes. But if we don't have any of our children stay back, none of our children here, if in another 10 years I'm up here preaching a message, and that whole group of young people that I sit over here, they're all gone to some other church, that's going to be heartbreaking. Right. Amen. Yeah. For me. Yeah. Absolutely. And the only way, I can preach to them young people, and I have tried. I've tried to change them little guys. But I can't change them. The only person I can change is me. Amen. And I want you to understand that tonight that their life is at stake by the way you live your life. Yes. Amen. You see, they're not going to catch any fire. They're not going to catch any desire unless you have it. Right. Amen. They're not going to stay here because you just want to be comfortable on a Sunday morning. Yes. They're not going to stay here if they see things in your life, if they see you doing things that they know are being taught against in this church. If your children that are standing here listening, or sitting here listening to Pastor Terry preach, and he's coming down the line, he says fornication is wrong, immorality is wrong, and they know that you yourself are struggling with it and are not victorious over it, they're going to say like, well, what are we going to do then?
Right.